Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Capital Clarity, our 35th episode. We're cruising on these.
Oh, I forgot this was 35.
Yeah, we're gonna get to 100 before you know it, and we got to do something special for 100. We've got to wear costumes or something. I don't know, do something funky.
I feel like everybody's listening to us on the original channels of like the website and Spotify. And YouTube, they don't really know that there's YouTube with video now.
Because there's only the last 8, I think, are on YouTube and
Right.
video on our website. Meanwhile, if you go into Spotify and our website, that we're on 35. It dates back far. We're better at this than most people would think.
I give you the credit.
Anyway, it is April 9th, Thursday, 1:05 p.m. The Dow is up another 340 some points on top of what it did yesterday. So Dow officially, for the time being right now, currently up on the year, which is great to see. So
Yeah, we were down about 8 or 9% from the peak, and it's nice to see us come back. So
it is.
Good.
It wasn't a fun start to the year, and that may have very well not been the bottom, but we'll see. At least I'll take what we're getting now. Any day. So.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. Earnings are so strong, and they continue to be strong, and that can always change. But the market just feels, this is just feel, but years of being a floor trader, this feels like the market wants to go higher as long as this news cycle can get out of the way.
Gosh, you couldn't have set me up better for my first chart here from Chart Kid Matt. This shows. I mean, this is a little bit of data now that we're having this little rally. This chart is as of, I think, a week or two ago. But it basically shows S&P forward earnings per share. That's the chart on the left versus the S&P actual price on the right as of the end of March, so a little more than a week ago. And the S&P actual price on the right shows the price rolling over and going down, whereas the forward earnings per share continue to go up. So it's exactly what you said. If it wasn't for this news-driven fear selling, the earnings, the main thing that really drives stock prices, continue to go up. Companies continue to make earnings. They continue to make money. The companies in the S&P 500, it's just the news has been driving these stock prices down, has been driving people to sell. And what does the market seem like it really wants to do? What it's doing right now, at least today, going up, and yesterday.
This is a great chart. Great chart. I had no idea you were going to show this, but it's great. I mean, I just read the other day that the price earnings ratio, which is a measure of how expensive or inexpensive a stock or an index is, but the price earnings ratio for the S&P 500 is down at levels not seen since the COVID lows. So if you think about it, what that means is the S&P 500 in general is priced inexpensively compared to, it's not expensively priced when you think about the fact that it's trading at inexpensive levels that are equivalent to the COVID lows. Now, the S&P 500 is up a ton since the COVID lows. But how could I then say stocks are, inexpensively priced relative to earnings? Well, it's because the earnings you can see that chart on the left that you're showing. I mean, there's earnings just hockey sticking up and to the right. So that's why it's the price is up quite a bit, but the earnings are up a ton.
Yeah. I thought that was a great chart.
Yeah, it's a great chart. Here, I got a non-business, non-stock thing that I'm going to show you. So I went running on the beach down in Avalon, New Jersey about a week ago.
The world beats for you.
Which I love. And there must have been, I ran about 5 miles. I saw 30 of these stripers, dead stripers on the beach, seagulls eating them. So wow. I know you love surf fishing and going out in the boat and going ocean fishing. This is the time to catch stripers because I'm right on the beach going, wow, I just took one picture, but there were tons of these. Not a big one either, but anyway, silly, but kind of cool. It's neat.
Maybe I should take a day trip down there. Yeah, that's a big striper too.
Yeah, after a long, harsh winter, it's nice to see fish in the water and sun on the beach and be on the beach. So.
Yeah, and especially this weather we're getting right now in Pennsylvania is it's annoying because it looks sunny and hot outside, and you go outside and no, it's cold and windy.
Yeah,
Typical
correct.
Spring in Pennsylvania, fake summer. I've got this piece here, if you don't mind me going again.
Go.
About AI. basically showing
AI.
how much. Yeah, if you've heard of it, it's called artificial intelligence. Basically showing and this is from Capital Group, basically showing how much they're spending already. The spending that companies are having on annual investments into AI is dwarfing other major moments in history. So, for example, this chart here, if you're listening, shows companies like Oracle, Microsoft, Meta, which is Facebook, Alphabet, which is Google, and Amazon, how they've already it's already estimated that they have spent more than what we spent as a percentage of U.S. GDP during the internet build out in 2000, and then during the Apollo moon landing in 1965 and the Manhattan Project in 1944.
Wow. So even it's not just dollars, it's percent of GDP, which equalizes all the dollars for inflation and sort of. And is basically saying, yeah, they're spending a ton on AI. It's
Basically
amazing.
saying, listen, Manhattan Project, moon landing, the internet, all major things that changed the whole world, but we're spending way more than that already, and it hasn't even been around for that long. Way
Yeah.
more than all of those on artificial intelligence.
Yeah. That's
Just
it's
shows this is
here
not
and
only
it's
here to stay, it's only going to get bigger.
yeah, it's only going to get bigger. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe send your kids into the trades. You can't artificial intelligence away plumbing or HVAC or auto repair, huh?
No, no.
Unless they put robots in there, which I don't think that's coming anytime soon. That's amazing. Did you see? I don't know if you saw this. So, a company called Plex. Now, this happened 10 years ago, but the Wall Street Journal just wrote an article on it. A company called Plex did a corporate retreat 10 years ago. And they said, well, we're going to take our employees on a corporate retreat. 120 remote employees that don't hang out with each other a lot because they're working remote. And we're going to go to Honduras for a survivor themed retreat.
Oh gosh, that aside from looking at the title from this article, that just sounds like a bad idea.
So they spent 500,000. Again, this is 10 years ago, but they spent $500,000 to send 120 of their employees on a retreat to Honduras. Here's and this is a Wall Street Journal article. Here's the hilarity that ensued. The CEO ignored don't eat the vegetables warnings, got E. coli from a salad, spent the week on an IV nailed to his bedpost while the retreat he planned happened outside his window. They had the employees, they had them do different challenges. The first challenge was to eat whatever's on the platter. One guy lifted the cover and found a dead tarantula. He ate it and then said, pretty horrible, not going to lie, those hairs. So this is a company retreat. You're supposed to be bonding. They had them all do
illegal. This seems illegal to have this.
They had them all do Navy SEAL drills on the beach in 100-degree heat. One employee landed on a fire ant hill in shorts. Medical staff had no antihistamine pills, only injectable epinephrine. They shot it into her rear end, which is mostly fat. That's not where you're supposed to do it. It should be the thigh, because there's muscle in the thigh. A porcupine fell through a shower ceiling onto an engineer. He called the front desk and said, there's some sort of large rodent in here. The hotel just came in, grabbed it, and left. That was it. And one day they did an island trip on small planes to a small remote island off of Honduras. And then they had to get 100+ people back before dark because the runway had no lights. They didn't make it back before dark. They got stranded overnight. And one employee had to receive a stranger's IV because they were dehydrated.
Oh my goodness.
And they spent the night in the dark with no shelter on this remote island. So, and there's more and more stories in this Wall Street Journal article, but it just made me laugh. I thought, gosh, people get crazy with these corporate retreats, and this is going to be a warning to a lot of people.
Did they bond though? That's the important question. Are they closer? Is their work family closer now that they all almost
I got to imagine
perished?
they did. Here's the other thing. This article, thing happened 10 years ago. Article comes out in the last week or two in the Wall Street Journal. I got to imagine the employees that were on that trip are, texting each other going, yo, man, look at this article.
Yeah,
Check this out.
yeah.
We lived it.
I wonder if they got like severance from that or something. I don't know. Here's the thing. And I feel like this gets worse and worse every year. Can we just work? Can we just go to work? Can
Right.
companies just this is a newer thing that I feel like started happening after like post 2010, like right around this era, and it got worse
Yeah.
in the 2020s. Can we stop with the crazy retreats and all the
Yeah.
bonding and we're a work family? Can we just go to work and
Yeah.
just do our
I
thing?
know.
Like
It's
always
well intentioned, but it's over the.
it's too much.
I know.
It's too much.
I know.
I
I
got a
agree.
thing on SpaceX here. So they're looking at an IPO, an initial public offering. So for those of you who don't know, SpaceX, it's a private company right now. They're looking at IPOing, which would make them a publicly traded company, publicly traded stock. And this chart right here from Morningstar just shows the trailing price to share. I'm sorry, price to sales. Pardon me, multiple of, well, below it, Nvidia, Tesla, Apple, and Google, and then up top is SpaceX. And I know some of you can't see this chart, but basically this chart shows that in its current data in 2026, SpaceX is trading right now at 125 times their price would be trading at 125 times their sales. So the sales that SpaceX makes, their price of the share would be trading at 125 times that if it were to go
Expensive.
public, whereas Nvidia's before it went public was trading at 20 times. Actually, no, sorry. This data would be current. So
It's current. Yeah.
Nvidia is currently trading at 20 times price per price to sales. Tesla, which is a cousin company of SpaceX, trading at currently 14 times price to sales. Apple 9 times price to sales, and Google also 9 times price to sales. So Nvidia seems expensive at 20 times price to sales. SpaceX, if it IPO'd, would be at 125 times price to sales.
Yeah. I mean, Nvidia at 20 times sales feels nuts. 125 for SpaceX. I mean, this is why I've gotten a lot of calls or emails from clients asking about how do I get some SpaceX and should we be buying the SpaceX IPO? And I don't know the answer because the future could be insanely bright for SpaceX, but
This
the only
makes
way to
me
answer
say
that,
no.
well, the only way to answer that question is what are they going to price it at? And what you're showing here is based on what Morningstar thinks that they're going to price the IPO at for SpaceX. But even if they're within the ballpark, it's going to be priced really expensively. I mean, what you pay per share. I mean, this is like $1 million house in a neighborhood that you know is worth $1 million that's on the market for 3 or 4 or $10 million. You kind of look at it, you go, well, that's a nice house, but I don't think I'd pay 10 million bucks for it. You
Can I
know?
ask you a question? And this might sound dumb and ignorant of me, but NVIDIA. So NVIDIA creates the microchips. This is predominantly what they do is they create the microchips that companies use to power AI. Tesla, I guess self-driving and electric cars. Apple is a tech company. You know, iPhones. We all know Apple. MacBooks. Google's Google. You know, it's search engine, phones, a number of other products that they sell and services. SpaceX, how do they make money?
So
Is it because it seems like it'd be more of R&D, you know, exploring space? Is it government contracts
yeah,
to find new research and explore?
yeah. So
What is it? How do they
a
pull in
lot of
money?
it's government contracts. So the three main businesses, because I was going to talk about this, are rocket launches. So they build and launch rockets like the Falcon 9 and the Falcon Heavy. And they use those to launch satellites for government use, not just US government, for space missions. They also do, those are rockets, but they do spacecraft that have humans in them, human space flights. So they have Dragon missions to the International Space Station and cargo flights for NASA too, because NASA needs to move cargo up and down. They also do Starlink, which I don't know if you've ever seen Starlink, but
I
Starlink
know
is
Starlink. I
wicked.
didn't know Starlink was SpaceX.
Yeah, Starlink's part of SpaceX. So Starlink, for those you don't know, if you're
I don't
in
know why I
the
thought Starlink was its own deal.
no, it's part of SpaceX. So if you go into like Yellowstone National Park, where there's no cell service, no satellite, no nothing, and you need to work on your laptop or computer or do anything, if you've got a Starlink, which kind of looks like a sort of like a VCR sort of, I'm making it sound bad, but like a VCR shaped size type of thing
Can put it in a
that
backpack.
yeah, you put it in a backpack on top of your RV or your car, and you pay. I think the last I looked, it's different programs, but it's right around 100 to 200, maybe $300 a month for Starlink service. It just shoots right up to a satellite. You've got your own internet connection, cell phone connection with your Starlink. So it's actually really cool. Of course, it's being used, in wartime to give people access to all the communications devices when there isn't the ability to do so. And then they have other businesses inside of there, but it's the pricing is going to be interesting this IPO. Can I show you something that
Yeah, because
fits me?
this makes me conflicted on whether or not I'd buy the IPO because that price to sales ratio is crazy expensive. But then you talk about what they do and what they make, and it seems like really they're ahead
Yeah.
in terms of their products and what they can do. But it's
The,
just, are
the
they that
reason
far ahead? You know?
the reason people would here so here's the template for it. Tesla IPOs, and we all know Tesla stock has done remarkably well since it IPO'd. But when it IPO'd, everybody's like, "What is this thing? This ain't gonna work." What are they? How many cars have they sold? 12. It's that kind of thing. And at the time, now they're into robotics and all these other things. But you know, you're buying into a potential future, not the current, and it's a risk. It's definitely a risk. So a lot of people, I don't know about you, I'm getting a lot of questions about how do I get on SpaceX now? And well, to get in on SpaceX before it goes public, like say 3, 4, 5 years ago, you had to have huge money. And, most regular people like us aren't able to do it. And the vast majority of our clients can't either. So I've had a few people ask about this, the Fundrise Venture Fund, which it trades like a stock. The symbol's VCX, and you can just buy it if you want. And they do own SpaceX. 5% of this, tradable fund, symbol VCX, is in SpaceX, but only 5%. But investors have piled into it because it gives them a chance to sort of, invest in SpaceX before it goes public. A few things about this. I looked into it, and a lot of money's poured into this VCX. This VCX issues a K1 for a tax form, not a 1099. If
Oof.
you don't know what a K1 is and you're not a K1 person, never dealt with one, trust me, your tax preparer is going to hate you for getting a K1. Doesn't mean don't do it. I get it. Everybody's a little different, but a K1 is a complex tax form that typically arrives very late March, if not early April, and can arrive as late as April 15th, which ironically is tax filing deadline. So just there are ways to there are other ways, and we can always talk to you about ways to kind of buy into SpaceX before it actually becomes public. But most of them kind of aren't a pure play and kind of come with some hairs on them too. So just be careful. All right, enough SpaceX, I guess. Unless you got something else on there.
No, but go with something else because I'm pulling up a chart that you reminded me of something that I saw on Anthropic. So,
All right, I got something for you
You go
here.
first, though. Yeah.
So tax time, right? We all love tax time, so fun, and love paying our taxes too. But I thought this was interesting. This is my single favorite line in the entire gigantic IRS tax code. And this applies to you, Keith, because I know how much you pay in taxes. Um, Really important line in the IRS tax
Do I
code.
pay
They
a
will
lot?
not
Do you think I
accept.
pay a lot in taxes?
Yeah, I mean, this is right up your alley. Just so you know, when you pay your taxes this year, Keith, the IRS will not accept checks of $100 million or more. So
Oh
you
gosh.
just can't do that. As the IRS ruling says here, you can't accept a single check of that side or cashier's check for amounts of $100 million or more. If you're sending in $100 million or more by check, you'll need to spread the payments over two or more checks, with each check made out for an amount less than $100 million. So anybody out there who's needs to pay their taxes and they owe $100 million or more, just remember this important tip from the IRS tax code. All right, enough on
It's
that
amazing.
lunacy.
How many people do you think that is?
I don't know who's paying by check like that way anyway. You're probably doing a wire or an ACH. I don't know.
It's
I don't know.
amazing. Ugh. That's
People
that's
who people who bought
goodness.
SpaceX 7 years ago on the
Yeah, yeah,
private
yeah.
market,
Yeah.
right?
People
Next year they'll be
people
paying
who
100
bought
million.
Nvidia back in 2010. Yeah, yeah. All right. Finally got it. You reminded me with the note on Anthropic there too. I wanted to pull this up. All right. Finally got it.
When we sing vamping music while we wait.
Yeah.
No, nobody wants me to do
I
that.
don't know why I thought I heard the Jaws song pop in my head there. um,
What
all
is
right,
this?
this is from Sherwood. I saw this yesterday. I just wasn't sure if I wanted to include it or not in today's podcast. But this basically shows the Anthropic annual revenue run rate. So the revenue, I know Anthropic, correct me if I'm wrong, another privately traded company, and AI company though. And this just shows in the last little more than a year the huge hockey stick like surge that they have had in annual revenue.
Yeah, they went from almost zero to 30 billion in revenue in
Yeah.
less than 2 years.
Because
for 2 years.
you look at the price to sales of SpaceX, and I know this isn't a price to sales chart, but it makes you wonder, private companies, what's going on behind the scenes of these companies? How are they making money? Are they making money? Well, Anthropic's making money.
Yeah, and Claude, which we keep hearing about Claude, the AI agent. Claude is part of Anthropic, and that's got to be part of it because I see Claude all over the place when people talk about AI.
I'm not an AI expert, but everyone that I talk to who knows a lot about AI keeps saying Claude so far is their favorite one that they use. I'm not saying it's the best. It's not a, fact from me. I'm just saying everyone I talk to that knows a lot about AI, they use Claude. Claude is their
Yep,
favorite to interact with, and yeah, that's Anthropic. So
they build a better mousetrap. Yep,
yeah, which is amazing because there are plenty of publicly traded companies like Google who has Gemini, I
Gemini.
think is theirs, X, Twitter, whatever. They have Grok. Is
Microsoft
OpenAI
Copilot.
is OpenAI, is that publicly traded or is that still
Uh,
private? Because that's ChatGPT, right?
Man, I have lost track.
But there are plenty of publicly traded companies with their own AI. But this one that has Claude seems to be this one private one that has Claude. Anthropic seems to be the one that's becoming very popular.
Yeah, I mean, think of like Motorola flip phones, or Blackberries, right? That was your standard, highest level phone, and then Microsoft comes out with or Apple comes out with the iPhone, and boom,
It does seem like that, doesn't it? Because I mean, back in
Or
the
and
early
you,
2000s, I mean, like, you'd have the Samsung flip phones, the Alias. I forget which company that was that made the Alias. Then the Nokia phones that were, in the late 90s or
yeah,
whatever. But and all of those were out before the iPhone. Then the iPhone comes along from this, random computer company, and everyone's like, "What is this? It's a touch screen." And who,
yeah. You're too young.
most of the world has an iPhone in their pocket. Hey,
Yeah,
I had other phones. I had other phones other than an iPhone. Don't
oh,
say
so
that.
did I. I had a BlackBerry. You remember that was state of the art.
I'll never forget. I know I'm derailing us here real quick, but everyone listening,
Is this
Rick,
trashing
we
me?
were at a restaurant in Texas in the mid 2000s, mid to late 2000s when I was a kid, not a little kid, but teenager, and we're sitting there and eating lunch or dinner or whatever, and he's got his BlackBerry and he's getting mad because he's getting texts on his BlackBerry, and I'll never forget him saying, "Gosh, this whole texting thing, I just don't think it's ever going to take off. Who's going to text each other?" And I'm sitting there thinking, I think everyone's going to be texting each other.
I know, I was wrong. I was more annoyed that people had one more way to reach out to me, and yeah, but I was wrong. No,
Yeah.
good point. Good point.
All right. What do you got? I'm
All
going to
right,
switch to real estate soon.
all right. I've got just one more thing. So why don't you go to your real estate?
All right. Kind of a 2-for-1 here. So even though it's slowed down a little since COVID, we still hear about a lot of people moving out of the Northeast and Midwest for the most part to go out west, to Arizona, Texas, if you consider Texas South or West or Southwest, I don't know, but
Yeah.
and then South as well. A lot of people, remote workers moving there, retirees moving to those areas and out of the Northeast. And this chart this is from Pew Research Center, shows it, how, if you can't see it, it's basically saying it's 1970, less than half of the U.S. population lived in the South, only 31%, and West only 17%, while today more than 6 in 10 Americans live in these states.
Wow.
Just
Look at
showing
that.
the migration to the South and Southwest.
Yeah, so
And
that
then
top line going up and to the right is the South. They could have used better colors on
they
this
could have.
chart.
These colors look very similar. Yeah, the very bottom one is the Northeast. Taking the biggest
Yeah.
hit in Exodus. It looks like.
Yeah, people
Um,
leaving the Northeast since 1970 on a very steady pattern and mostly moving to the South, even
and
moving out of the Midwest.
where, you might ask? Well, to parlay on that chart, I've got this one right here from I believe this is Visual Capitalist. Yeah,
Probably is.
this is Visual Capitalist.
They bring the heat.
From Visual Capitalist, uh, where Americans moved in 2025. So the red states, the states with red on them, shows a decline in It shows less migration, the loss of migration, and
Yeah.
the blues have a gain in migration. If you're listening, so for example, Pennsylvania, just choosing that one because we're based out of there, suffered a 11.1% decline. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, 11.1% decline in migration in 2025. Whereas, and we keep saying it, South Carolina, everyone's moving to South Carolina, a almost 80% increase in migration in 2025 alone.
Wow.
Idaho is the only one directly behind that with a 63.2% increase. But South Carolina is, and sorry, just to real quick wrap this up, this shows, if you look at this chart, they perfectly, not perfectly, but pretty much go together, these two charts, because it shows the migration out of the Northeast and into the Southwest and definitely the South.
Yeah.
Alabama, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, and Tennessee too. Tennessee's huge for migration. Taking a lot of it.
Wow.
The only ones in the Northeast to really get any migration to them, any positive migration, this is just in 2025, has been Maine, which I love Maine. I don't blame people for moving to Maine, and then Delaware with a 54.5% increase in 2025, I'd imagine for tax purposes.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Look at Massachusetts down 38%. They lost 38% of their people. Um,
New York down 28%,
California
California
down
25,
25.
Alaska
Wow.
down 17%,
Yeah, I wonder what's up with that.
Texas
Uh,
up 23%.
Illinois down 14 and a half. Yeah, yeah. And Texas, a big winner. Florida, a minor winner, but it's because it was 2025 and
Well,
they
that's
front
the
loaded all their
thing.
gains.
You got to take this chart with a grain of salt because this is 5 years post the COVID move. But still,
Right.
the South is still getting migration. I wonder what this chart will look like at the end of 2026.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. Well, I don't blame people. We've had quite a few clients move to South Carolina or buy a second home in South Carolina. So this makes sense anecdotally too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, fascinating. Love that chart. All right. This is the last thing I have, but all right, everybody. This is not political, please. I just need to show you this. So, Trump accounts. I know political people think, they hear the word Trump. Please don't take it this way. We're trying to help you. So, the government started these accounts. They happen to be called Trump accounts. But basically, the reason I mention this is because if you have a child or grandchild born between in 2025, 2026, 2027, or 2028, you can open up one of these accounts, and the government's going to fund it with $1,000 of seed money. It's basically kind of a free $1,000. So it's something that we want to make sure you're aware of, that you consider. There are a lot of other rules to these and how they work. I mean, family and friends can put in additional monies per year, up to $5,000 a year. They're all after tax contributions, so they're not tax deductible. Um, they're unlike a Roth IRA. A child could be, of course, 1 year old and not showing any earned income from working. I mean, 1 year old working, right? But Roth IRA, you can't do that because they have to have earned income from working. But with this, you can put family and friends contributions in without that working stipulation. There are a lot of other little things to keep in mind. We can give you details on it, but we just want you to be aware that, as much as we're not big fans of government spending, if they're going to spend the money and if it benefits you, our clients, in this way where you can start $1,000 account for a child or grandchild, we would just want you to be aware of it.
Yeah, and we weren't going to bring this up because we don't talk really any politics on this. And that's not political at all. It's more so just that we've gotten a lot of questions on these accounts lately, especially now that tax time is winding down and people are hearing from their accountants, hey, what about this account? So we thought we'd just address it, put it out
Yep,
there.
exactly.
All right, Rick, if I were to tell you, hey, the sports industry, the whole business of sports as a whole is pretty big. It makes a lot of money. What do you think is the biggest cash cow for the sports industry as a whole? Everything included, the whole everything. What is the biggest moneymaker for the sports industry?
Okay.
All sports, all around. Everything. If
Yeah.
it's got sports in it, just consider it in
So,
there.
so I think a few years ago I would have said advertising, but
Advertising.
it's probably gambling, right? You're gonna tell me it's gambling?
It is sports gambling. This is from
Yeah,
Visual
sports gambling.
Capitalist. So sponsorship and ad revenue is $52 billion. of the $417 billion sports industry.
Not even
Betting
close.
is $133 billion of the $417 billion sports industry, over a quarter of the revenue
That
that the whole
is.
industry makes.
I thought it might be neck and neck with betting, just edging out advertising and marketing. But my gosh, that is
Look
that
at
is
it dwarfs
amazing.
media rights and streaming and app subscriptions. That which is, you know,
Yeah.
it's just.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
I'm just gonna say it. People have a real gambling problem.
Bunch of
it's,
degenerate gamblers. There, you know,
people have got a real gambling problem.
You
Like
know, I
really.
really thought I said this 2, 3, 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. I said, "Man, they're going to open the floodgates in the sports gambling, and then we're going to start to see articles. Maybe they're out there, and I've missed them, but articles about family after family devastated because one of the, maybe the dad or something couldn't stop sports gambling, and he bet the house, and they lost the house or something like that, and they're on the street. And maybe I'm sure that's occurring, but I just thought it would be something that the media picks up on and starts to really give the sports betting industry a hard time about. But I don't know why. I just don't see that drum being beaten very often. And man, this number, $133 billion, more than twice the revenue of marketing, sponsorship, and so on, that's
Yeah.
staggering. Absolutely staggering.
I wonder if it's also because who watches sports? People that love competition, they love winning, they love high stakes.
Yep.
Well, in kind of a messed up way, that's gambling. So when you
Yep.
combine them, it's kind of addicting for those people. So,
Yeah. And I get it. It's kind of fun. I mean, I've done some sports gambling, and it's
oh,
fun,
I'm not above saying I haven't placed the occasional wager. It's just
Yeah.
it can get really out of hand.
Yeah, I think some people are. Well, I know a lot of people because I know some of them. They can't watch a game without having money on it. You
And
know, they,
it, yeah,
they it's like there's not enough juice just in the game alone. They got to have
no.
money riding on it.
It coincides too with making all these states making it legal, making sports gambling legal, has perfectly coincided with us having really, really high tech computers in our pockets that we can just
Yeah.
hold in our phone. That we don't have to go to a casino to place a bet. We just pull out our
Yep.
phone and deposit some money, and there you go.
And you don't have to pull $500 in cash out of your pocket and plunk
No,
it down and watch it go poof. You just, I'll just transfer it from my bank or my credit
and
card.
it's gamified. It's
Exactly.
gamified. So if you
Of
win, they do
course.
confetti and stuff.
Yeah, of
it's
course. I mean, they're
yeah,
smart. That's
yeah,
online trading apps for stocks do the same thing. They encourage
yeah.
you to trade.
They know what catches people's eyes. Yeah.
Exactly.
I have one more thing prior to our what I'm assuming you're going to bring up, which is movie and show and book recommendations. I have one more thing. So, just something that has I'm going to share a web page real fast from this is from Ben Carlson from his blog. Can't take credit for this. It's his Ben Carlson's, but um, it I've been hearing a lot of lately. Oh gosh, the economy's been just so brutal. And listen, I know everyone's in different boats. Not everyone is in the same position money wise, but when you look at the grand scheme of the last 10, 15 years, can you see this?
Yeah.
We've had it pretty good. And this little section here from his article that he wrote not long ago, this was just a few weeks ago, really I think covers it pretty well. I think it's a legitimate argument to call this the longest economic expansion in history. There hasn't been a real recession since 2009. There's been no credit cycle in that time either, no financial crisis to speak of. The stock market has experienced just 2 down years of the past 17. The S&P 500 is up nearly 14% per year since the beginning of 2009. The economy has continued to grow despite 9% inflation, the Fed raising rates from 0% to 5% in a hurry, tariffs, wars, energy shocks, and more. At the very least, this is the most impressive economic expansion, given everything that's been thrown
Thrown
at
at
it, I
it.
think
I
you meant
think
to
he meant
say.
thrown. Yeah.
This economic boom hasn't always been perfect. There are certainly parts of the economy that have struggled. Not all households have benefited equally. I agree with him on that. Listen, if you're listening to this and going, but I'm not doing well, I get it. Not everyone's benefited from this equally, just like he said. He goes on to say, at some point the cycle will turn. I don't know when or why. No one does. Everyone who has been predicting the downfall of the economy since the end of the great financial crisis has been wrong. often spectacularly so. The economy just keeps chugging along. And this, I think, hit the nail on the head for me. This is just because
Yeah.
I think
We've been,
there can be so much news driven fear in this world. And when you really look at the hard data, like Ben lays it out perfectly right here, it's been pretty good since 2009. There's
it
been
has.
bumps, but we've had it pretty easy. It actually kind of makes me worried for when we do go through a real economic downturn, what people will think, because it's we have
Yeah. Just to play
it's
the
been
other
easy.
side of it, I mean, part of the reason, and he's talking about since 2009, which is also, he puts in here, since the end of the great financial crisis. Well, 2000 through 2008 was brutal in economically, stock market wise, and so on. We had tech bubble burst, and the stock market was down for 3 years in a row, 2000, 2001, and 2002. And then between late 2007 and early 2009, we had the great financial crisis. Stock market got slaughtered again. And so we basically spent 8 years getting trounced. And I think what happened coming out of that is it got very popular to try to redo the big short. Oh, I'm going to predict the next one. It's got to be around the corner. I'm going to sell things based on fear. And what Ben's saying there is, listen, we got so trounced for so long in that period with two back-to-back, brutal, brutal bear markets that, are you surprised that since 2009 things have been going well? You shouldn't have been, because we really went through the grinder for 8 straight years. So it's awesome. He's right. It's great
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Great stuff. I got nothing else, man. I got no books, no movies, no nothing. I've been
nothing.
working, working, working. All I've been doing is working, so I'm boring.
Gosh, you're making me feel bad. I've been working too, but I've been watching a few
Would you
things.
read 3 books and watch 4 movies and
No,
go
no,
to
no,
a
no, no,
festival?
no, no, no.
All right. What's going on? I got to get out there.
I'm rewatching Dexter, which
Uh,
is probably my fourth time rewatching Dexter. It's a very fun
really?
show. It's really, really uh, not for the squeamish, I guess, but the storyline's awesome.
Yeah.
Also reading
Good
a
show.
book. I think it's called. I'm sorry, forgetting the exact title. I believe it's called The Daily Stoic, and basically
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a book with different excerpts from different philosophers throughout history, Marcus Aurelius, and a few others. That basically there's no storyline to the book. It just is different excerpts and
Yeah.
meditations from some of the greatest minds and philosophers in history, and it really lends perspective
And that's
to
Ryan
life in
Halliday,
general.
right?
Yes, yes, it
So
is.
he's the guy who wrote The Obstacle is the Way, one of my favorite books. Same
Got
idea,
great
Stoicism,
books. Yeah.
like a modern operating system for life kind of thing based on the classic Stoic writings.
It's one of those books that it's good just to have in your office or on a coffee table and pick it up every once in a while and check out some of the sayings. I don't
Yeah.
know,
Brilliant.
lends some clarity. But
Yeah.
yeah. All
Great
right. Well,
stuff.
thank you for listening, everybody. We didn't have any listener questions today, but and Rick didn't have any movie or book recommendations because he's being lazy. But continue to send us your questions. We'll answer them. All right. Thank you. Catch you next
Bye,
time.
everybody.
The Capital Clarity podcast is presented by FA's Keith Wagner, AA.MS Financial Advisor, and Rick Wagner, CFP, Senior Vice President, Wealth Management. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All opinions expressed are of the hosts and do not necessarily represent those of Raymond James. Opinions are as of this date and are subject to change without notice. Investing involves risk, and you may incur a profit or loss regardless of strategy selected. Prior to making an investment decision, please consult with your financial advisor about your individual situation. 2003 South Easton Road, Suite 100, Doylestown, Pennsylvania 18901, 267-742-3455, Raymond James and Associates Inc., member New York Stock Exchange SIPC. The S&P 500 is an unmanaged index of 500 widely held stocks that is generally considered representative of the U.S. stock market. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, DJIA, commonly known as the Dow, is an index representing 30 stocks of companies maintained and reviewed by the editors of the Wall Street Journal. Inclusion of these indices is for illustrative purposes only. Keep in mind that individuals cannot invest directly in any index, and index performance does not include transactions, costs, or other fees which will affect actual investment performance. Past performance does not guarantee future results. 529 plans come with fees and expenses, and there is a risk they may lose money or underperform. Most states offer their own 529 programs, which may provide benefits exclusively for their residents. Please consider whether the state plan offers any tax or other benefits. Tax implications can vary significantly from state to state.